What's going on, guys? Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm bringing a very special deck profile because it's definitely a fan favorite and a favorite here on the channel. So the new Banlist just came out, and I'm going to profile my Ancient Gears. So yeah, this is definitely a very nostalgic deck, one of my favorite decks because I personally love Ancient Gear Golem. He's one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards because, again, just so much nostalgia with him, and he's just so cool. I mean, like, he's just one of the coolest cards in Yu-Gi-Oh in general. But yeah, so I've had some recent success with Ancient Gears, being able to take it to locals and get first place. I mean, I guess it's been a while. I've been playing Earth Machine, which is a very different machine deck, but when I have played this deck at locals in the past, I have had some good success. And the core of the deck didn't change. It's just about playing in the new format and sort of adjusting tech choices. But yeah, before I get into the list, if you are a fan of Ancient Gears and you want to subscribe for Ancient Gear content, feel free to subscribe. I do have quite a few Ancient Gear deck profiles over the past several formats, and I have a whole combo video showing like a bunch of Ancient Gear combos and hand tests, the absolute ceiling of the Ancient Gear archetype. So if you want to check that out, I will leave it somewhere around here. But yeah, just a super huge fan of Ancient Gears, and if you are too, feel free to subscribe. Twitter and Discord link below, and yeah, let's get into the deck profile. So before we do, everyone always asks me what type of sleeves I'm using because they see them in like either dual videos or they want to know. These are just some character sleeves that I use for my extra deck, and that's the sleeves we're using today. I got them from eBay because everyone always asks me, so get that out of the way. And then starting off with the deck profile, we have one Ancient Gear Golem. So this is the only Ancient Gear Golem I play. I do not play the Ultimate Pound. I just play the one because you don't want to see too many. He's just a huge brick. You just want to use him to fusion summon from deck, either summoning him through Catapult or tribute summoning him if you're able to search him without normal summoning. And then you have Gear Town, he just costs one tribute. It's pretty nice. But yeah, some lists play two of this, and I have... There's only one time where I kind of want to play two, and that's if you draw him and you still want to summon one on Catapult. But yeah, the amount of times I already draw him at one, I don't really want to see more of this card because you want to have as much gas to break your opponent's board as possible and enough to see your plays as well. So just one Ancient Gear Golem because there are plenty of bricks in the deck and we don't want to increase the chance of bricking. Also, this card is my baby because this is an ultimate first Ancient Gear Golem in pretty minty condition. I don't know if the camera can see him, but yeah, this is my pride and joy right there. Do love Ancient Gear Golem. And then we have one Reactor Dragon. He's a really good main deck boss monster. Again, we're minimizing him at one to not brick. A lot of builds play multiple Ancient Gear Golems and multiple Reactor Dragons. It's just not necessary because the goal isn't to like swing with these for game. It's to make Chaos Ancient Gear Giant and swing for game, and the whole deck is pretty much a combo deck to get to that point. And the deck has some crazy explosive plays. Again, if you want to see the combo video, I do have it. But yeah, it's just a combo deck to see like a crazy end board that just OTKs. However, Reactor Dragon is a very nice main deck boss monster sitting at 3k. He can pop back row, which is very cool, and he can pop your own spells and traps, which is good for Gear Town and Fortress. And if you are needing more damage, he can be a main deck boss monster that's very easy to special summon and just swing for game. So Reactor Dragon, definitely good for that. So we are playing the one. Onto the starters for the Ancient Gear archetype, we have 3 Wyvern. Definitely the best starter because it searches any Ancient Gear card. But when it does, you can't set for the rest of the turn. That's pretty important to remember for in case they make you go first. This is a very hard go second deck, so that's important to remember. You have the 3 Wyvern and the 2 Gear Frame. Wyvern searches any Ancient Gear card, but Golem can only search cards with Ancient Gear Golem in their name or in their card text. So in this list, it searches Ancient Gear Golem and Ancient Gear Fusion. And that's all it searches, but that means that your Wyvern can search any other piece you need, and you can have Gear Frame search the Fusion. It just is hand dependent, but yeah, these are your 2 starters, and or 5, like, you're running a lot more starters technically, because as long as you get to Ballista, any of these starters are accessible, and that's kind of the goal, right? So we are playing 5 of those, so we don't draw too many Gear Frames in our opening hand. And then the 1 box, because you have to play him. He adds another name, being able to add Gear Frame from your deck. And that's very important. Sometimes you just need an additional name to make that fusion, and box can help you get there. So yeah, we only play 8 Ancient Gear monsters. We play these 7 and the Ancient Gear Golem. Yeah, I haven't needed more than 8. This list is sort of skewed toward competitive play. A lot of lists you'll see online and maybe more casual lists, they'll run a lot of Ancient Gear monsters. They'll run some of the lesser good ones like the Gadget, which isn't terrible. Like, these aren't terrible cards if you really want to play them. But this list was essentially designed to be able to take it to locals and potentially win against even meta decks. And I've had, again, really good success with it. I've won first place at locals, and I've gotten many top 3s with Ancient Gears. So the deck definitely has success, and this list has worked for me. I don't play Hound, which is the other Ancient Gear monster I think is a very viable one to play. I just feel like I'm doing my combos and I never need him. He's level 3, so you can't even like finish off Dugaris with him. He's really good in like bad hands, but again, I've never needed the 9th Ancient Gear monster, and I've never needed Hound. And this has been what's working for me, and I've pretty much been running this ratio since like January in my first Ancient Gear profile. And yeah, I've had quite a bit of success with it. So I just like playing the 8, but yep. And then we're playing 1 Anchor Drill and 1 Trencher. This is essentially for your urgent schedule, but I mean, Anchor Drill is also just an amazing like starter because he's a normal summon, and he can extend into your Wyvern or your Gear Frame or anything like that. But these two are mostly like urgent schedule targets. Trencher itself is just kind of like a brick. But yeah, Anchor Drill is a fantastic card, and you just need to play these two because it's how you can like super extend into multiple multiple Chaos Ancient Gear Giant plus like Dugaris. It actually gets kind of ridiculous. So yeah, and then we have 1 Dairy Crane and 2 Super Express Bullet Train. These are just extenders again to make Ballista. The entire deck is trying to make Ballista either through getting Catapult Gear Town or through a normal summon in one of these extenders or Anchor Drill as an extender, and you just want to get to Ballista so that you can go through your full combo. And the trains are also really good for pushing for damage. Like Super Express Bullet Train is just a 3k you can summon, and if you send 2 cards you control, you can swing with 3k. So if Chaos Ancient Gear Giant is enough to finish them, you just send your last cards and swing for game. So these are just fantastic extenders that you need to play to make sure you get into your Ballista. And now we only play 1 hand trap despite being a very go second list, and we're just playing the most bonkers hand trap in the game, which is your 3 Gamma and your Driver. This card will make a lot of sense when I get into the spells because you just have so many cards that you can activate that can be interrupted by your opponent through monster effects while you control no monsters. So you're able to use Gamma on your turn very, very easily and quite often, which is super impactful. I mean, like, your win ratio goes up so much if you activate Gamma on your own turn. And he's never like dead in this deck because if you open a hand without cards like Urgent Schedule or Pot of Extravagance or Catapult, and you don't need to save Gamma for your turn, you can just use it on one of their cards that you think would help stop and like make their board a little weaker. But you're mostly wanting to save this for your own turn to protect your cards that can get ashed or negated by cards like Boral Savage or whatever's going to negate in this format. Of course, Dragon Link have taken a hit, but any negation card can be stopped, or any monster negate can be stopped by Gamma, right? So, yeah, super, super good card, and it's the only hand trap. I've never played Ancient Gears without Gamma because it's just the most impactful one in this deck, so definitely want to maximize it. And that's it for monsters. On to spells. We have 3 Pot of Extravagance, so we're playing Extravagance over Prosperity because Prosperity simply halves your damage. You want to go second and you want to win on your first turn. Pot of Extravagance essentially makes you start with a 7-card hand, which can get you more cards to either combo out or break your opponent's board. Both are super important, and getting 2 cards off Extravagance is very important also compared to Prosperity's 1 card. Even if the quality of the card's a little higher, sometimes you just need more cards in Ancient Gears to get to where you need to be. And Extravagance is just super, super powerful. You do take a risk in your extra deck, and I'll explain that more when I get to the extra deck, but yeah, I've rarely lost from Extravagance, and it has helped me win so many games, so it's definitely worth playing despite its downfalls. And then the biggest buff to Ancient Gears is probably from Ghost from the Past, and that is Ultra Gear Towns. I'm so glad this card is now hollow. I've been using the Turbo Pack Rares for so long, but now Gear Town is nice and shiny, ultra rare, super cool looking. And yeah, Gear Town just one of the most important cards in the deck because Ballista searches it and pops it, makes one of their monsters 0, and then Gear Town pops off. And opening this in Catapult is absolutely insane. And yeah, you just want to see this card. Now, I don't play Terraforming because I feel like 3 is actually a good amount of Gear Town. I've opened so many hands where it's like Gear Town Terraforming with no way to pop it, or 2 Gear Towns in Terraforming. I don't want to see just a load of this card because you're going to search off Ballista anyways, but opening 1 can be nice, so Ballista can search either something else or you can like pop Gear Town twice in one turn through card effects. So yeah, it just depends, but I think 3 Gear Towns enough and no need for Terraforming, and space is already kind of tight. Then you have the 3 aforementioned Catapult, just definitely the most blowout card in Ancient Gears. or at least part of the Ancient Gear archetype, and that's because it plus Gear Town is like full combo and more. You play this and you send your Gear Town, and then you special summon Ancient Gear Golem off this. Gear Town special summons Wyvern, and you start something like an Ancient Gear Fusion. And then you can fusion summon instantly from deck into Giant, right? Of course, normally you're going to have way more plays than that and be able to make a much more ridiculous board, but that's essentially the base combo if you have like nothing else. And this is another reason you run Gamma or cards like this, so you can like play Gear Town, Catapult, play Catapult, and then they ash it. Well, that would just be the end of your life. But if you have Gamma there, you probably 100% win the game. It's actually so ridiculous. So yeah. Catapult Gear Town has always been just Ancient Gear's like best play, and we are definitely going to keep both of those at 3 because they are so blowout. 2 Ancient Gear Fortress, it's pretty much our miscellaneous Saurus. Dinosaurs have their misc now put to 1 with the new list, but Ancient Gears still have this incredibly powerful card that pretty much puts a blanket protection from like destruction and targeting, but most importantly, while this is on the field, your opponent cannot activate effects in response to your Ancient Gear cards and effects. So like they can't Ash Blossom, Catapult if this is face up. They can't, strike your Wyvern or anything like that. They can't activate cards and effects in response to your effects. So it is like even more broken miscellaneous Saurus, and it's just so good. It can also be an extender by sending it to graveyard with something like Reactor Dragon. Doesn't come up often, but yeah, it's always there. And then 2 Ancient Gear Fusion and Overload Fusion. These are your fusion spells. This one is more so for your Verte Anaconda because, I mean, yeah, it's really good. But sometimes you still get there, and if you draw this, and you can still like put 4 in grave, make your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, make a second one. The problem about drawing this is they can then like Ghost Bell it, which kind of stinks. But yeah, 3 fusion spells, definitely more than enough. These are how you're going to make your big combos and just go for game. Again, if you're sort of confused on Ancient Gear combos, again, I do have a combo video on the channel if you want to check that out, and it explains pretty much all the combos and goes through all the hand tests in case you are lost on just how powerful Ancient Gears can be. 3 Urgent Schedule, definitely just the most blowout card in the deck. That's not part of the Ancient Gear archetype like Catapult. This card essentially summons 2 machine monsters from your deck, 1 level 5 or higher, 1 level 4 or lower, as long as your opponent controls more monsters than you, which is again why we are hard go second. They're essentially always going to have more monsters than you. Oftentimes you just special Anchor Drill and Trencher, make your Ballista go into a lot of your plays, and then you can also just banish Trencher for Anchor Drill, extend into your hand even more, and this is how you get to things like double Chaos Ancient Gear Giant and Dugaris on the same board. Like Urgent Schedule is so powerful as long as you have a Ballista in your extra deck, and it's just like the best card. Some people think you can't attack the turn you use this. Like I've heard so many people like read that and think that you can still attack as long as they're machine monsters. So that is something very important to note if you are confused on that. Now, definitely a big tech card for the format, and one of the most powerful cards for the format, and super good in this deck, is 3 Forbidden Chalice. So the reason I play Chalice in this deck over something like Droplets is sometimes you don't have the cards to pitch, right? But most importantly, all you're really trying to negate are Winda and Shrek because they are such important like pieces of interaction that really hurt your board. Well, Winda's not really a piece of interaction, she's just a floodgate, but you have to negate those cards, and Chalice is a really cost-efficient way to do it that Ancient Gear don't really care about because they're just so big, 400 tag doesn't matter, and you don't really need to negate too many things when you have so many ways to break boards like the Gamma and just gassing through with cards like Urgent Schedule. Chalice is a very good way to stop things like that, and we play it over something like Infinite Impermanence because cards like Schism to summon Winda and cards like Revolt to summon Shrek, these cards can be activated when you already have cards on field, and then all of a sudden Imperm is completely useless, but Chalice is a super good way to out these cards. So we are maximizing Forbidden Chalice, and it is just such a good card in this deck, and it's really been picking up steam in the format for, well, like the previous format, it started seeing more play, and I still think it's a fantastic card and sort of mandatory in this deck when it looks like Tri-Brigade and Winda are still very good. Obviously, this card's not like great versus Sky Striker, which is another strong deck, but yeah, definitely a completely viable card. Then I am playing 2 Twin Twister, Harpy's Feather Duster, just some back row destruction here. Twin Twister is super good because you can pop your own Gear Towns, which is very nice. And Feather Duster is like probably one of the most blowout spell and trap destructions. This is also good versus like Prank Kids because you can stop their Pandemonium. Good versus Schism, Revolt, making sure it activates early, but like blowing out Sky Striker spells is super good. Mystic Mind's a huge problem, so Twin Twister feels very mandatory in this deck when it is a go second, sort of bust through your back row deck. You can play Lightning Storms over Twin Twister if you have access to them. It's not terrible, but Twin Twister being able to pop your own Gear Town is very good as like a starter in those weird hands. So that's more like personal preference and what card pool you have available. Then we play a Called by the Grave. Yeah, this is pretty obvious to stop hand traps and play through interaction. And then lastly, we have Red Reboot, part of the Spell and Trap Destruction. So we have like a Feather Duster and 2 Twin Twister. Reboot just the most impactful probably and able to play through so many boards and just OTK them. Definitely main decking this card because it is pretty much game when you activate it. Onto the extra deck. So we are maximizing things at 3 in this deck that you only need 1 of, like Ballista. We're playing 3 Ballista, and this is for your Pot of Extravagance most obviously. You only need 1 Ballista to do your play. You'll never go into another one. I mean, I don't want to say never, because sometimes I've gone into another one just to put more in my graveyard for Overload Fusion. But the objective here is to just make sure you have 1 so you can do your play. So we are maximizing this for Pot of Extravagance. This is your main card, the most important card in the extra deck. It makes things 0, which is very, very good. And while doing so, it pops your town or your fortress or... yeah, essentially those, and then you get to special summon. So it's like super, super good, and you just want to maximize on 3 Ballista. Then we have 2 Verte Anaconda. Oftentimes you just kind of like end your combo with this and make either a second Chaos Ancient Gear Giant or your first one. Depends on your hand, how gas it was and whatnot. Or if you have to play through a billion negates and you can only end on 2 monsters, but you filled up your graveyard, you can get Verte, still go Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, and sometimes just win. So we play 2 for Pot of Extravagance, but you really, again, only need 1. For Ancient Gear Fusions, we have 2 Howitzer. This card's really good and plays the role of a very strange extender, because there are times where you draw like Ancient Gear monsters that are like normal summons or bricks, and you need to like summon Wyvern, search Ancient Gear Fusion, or Frame, however it works. Ancient Gear Fusion with like 2 Ancient Gears in your hand, summon Howitzer, burn for a K, and then you can link off the Howitzer and the Wyvern into Ballista and do your plays from there. So he plays the role of a very nice extender because he only takes 2 Ancient Gear monsters. And yeah, he's just a pretty good card for that. The extra 1K is also nice. It means you can like burn in main phase for a game. You're not going to time with this deck, so that never happens, but yeah, Howitzer is just a very good card, and 2 is again for Extravagance. We play none of the Chaos or the Ancient Gear. What is its name? The one that takes 3. We do play Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem because this is another win condition if all 3 Chaos Ancient Gear Giant gets banished, because Ballista will make one of their monsters 0 attack and defense. You just make this in Dugaris, that's 8,800. So we want to play at least 1 of this in case all 3 Chaos Ancient Gear Giant gets banished. If all 4 of them get banished, I mean, like, I don't know what to say, unlucky. Having 4 of a card banished off Extravagance is extremely, extremely, extremely rare, and I have yet to have all 4 be banished. But yeah, so we do play 1 of this. And then we play the Man, the Myth, the Legend. 3 Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. This is all you're trying to make the entire game. This is just 100% the best card in your extra deck besides Ballista, which is how you get into most of these. But this is your boss monster. You make him. He's 4,500. He swings at everything. He pierces, unaffected by spells and traps, can't activate monster effects in the battle phase. He is most of the time just game, which is crazy because he's super easy to make. So the fact that he's so easy to make, and he usually spells out game as long as you can kill them, is very, very good. So definitely a very powerful card that we are maximizing. Then we play some non-fusions here. We have an Omega and a Scrap Dragon for our Gamma. Scrap Dragon is very good in the deck because if you Gamma something on their turn and then you can like summon Scrap Dragon, you can like pop an additional card, which means Gamma dealt with 2 cards. So Scrap Dragon is just like a good go second card in that aspect. But also like he can pop himself. The important things about these level 8 synchros and why we choose to play them, besides the fact that they're great, is the fact that they can remove themselves from the board, which allows you to still catapult. The Scrap Dragon can also pop things like Fortress and Gear Town, which is very, very nice. So Scrap Dragon, just the best level 8 synchro in the deck because he has the most synergy, and Omega can help clear hand traps and remove himself from the board. So 2 very important level 8s, and we play 2 again for Extravagance and 2 Dugaris for the same reason. This one's pretty simple to explain. The only effect you're ever using essentially is pump Chaos Ancient Gear Giant to 9,000 attack and attack for game. So yeah, that is the Ancient Gear deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. If you do have questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I know like this Ancient Gear list isn't super conventional because there are a lot more like fun Ancient Gear decks online, and they're not like usually competitively geared. That was kind of a pun, but not really. But anyways, yeah, hope you enjoyed. This was Top Tier Gaming. Feel free to subscribe and like the video. Yep, hope you enjoyed. Bye, YouTube.